And in his 1805 inaugural address, he said, I shall need too the favor of that being in whose hands we are, who led our forefathers, as Israel of old, from their native land and planted them in this country. America was indeed begun by men who honored God and set their founding principles by the words of the Bible. They lived their lives with honesty, reliability, and fairness toward establishing this country, and they did so for the very sake of its survival. Thank you.
Gentlemen, my name is Stephen Disbrow. I live at 7918 Cove Ridge Drive in Hinson, Tennessee. I'm 47 years old. I've lived in Hamilton County all of my life. I have a business that I've owned since 1989. 2 small children, a dog, a home, and 2 ex-wives that regrettably still live here in town. I am, as they say, invested in this community. I come here today to add my voice to those others imploring you to stop at once the practice of opening each meeting with a blatantly Christian prayer. Now, in the past, others have argued with the Commission that such a prayer is not only frighteningly exclusionary and intimidating to the non-Christian residents of Hamilton County, it is also demonstrably unconstitutional. And while either of those reasons alone should be enough to convince you to stop this practice, these arguments, as we've seen here today, seem to have fallen on deaf ears. So, I'm here today to make a different argument, one that I think the council, the commission, may be able to grasp more readily. I'm here to talk about money. The lawsuit that you face now was inevitable. If it hadn't been filed by Mr. Coleman and Mr. Jones, someone else would have filed it. Just as inevitable is the outcome. You will lose this lawsuit. Just as the state of Rhode Island recently lost against Jessica Alquist, just as Judge Roy Moore lost his bid to display the 10 Commandments in the Alabama Judicial Building, and more importantly, just as this commission lost its own 10 Commandments case in 2003. Now, according to a report in the Times Free Press, that loss cost county taxpayers, such as myself and the people here, $70,000. With respect, I would much rather my money go to other things. With that in mind, and knowing that history tells us again and again and again that you will lose, I'd like to ask you now, by a show of hands, how many of you here on the commission today are willing to personally bear the cost of this lawsuit if you lose? Because the taxpayers may just decide to try to recoup that money from each of you personally, if not from your wallets at the ballot box, definitely. Now, my second point is this. By continuing this practice, you are threatening the overall economic progress that has been made in Chattanooga the last few decades. What do I mean? Well, by continuing this practice, you are saying to non-Christian tourists, don't come to Chattanooga. We don't want your money. You're not welcome here. Christians only. By continuing this practice, you are saying to our young non-Christian entrepreneurs, people that were born and raised here, like my children, we don't want your talent here. We don't want your passion here. You're not welcome here. Christians only. By continuing this practice, you are saying to our non-Christian, out-of-state and foreign businesses, we don't want your investment in our community. Christians only. Consider, if you will, our new German friends at Volkswagen. Did you know that according to a 2008 poll by Der Spiegel magazine, 34% of Germans are not religious at all, and only 25% believe in Jesus? Now, did only those 25% move here to Hamilton County to live and work among us? Do you want to tell all but the good Christian Germans, Deutschen nach Haus gehen, which I hope translates Germans go home? And what about our French friends at Alstom? A 2007 poll found that only 64% of the French population could be described as Christian, and only 3% of those are Protestants, like the vast majority of Hamilton County residents. The rest, the remaining 36%, do not fall into any Christian denomination at all. Now, did the people of Alstom come to Chattanooga with the understanding that their non-Christian countrymen must be kept out of sight? that they could not, and indeed should not, as we've seen here today, expect to be treated as equals under the law simply because of their religion? Why should they bring their business here? Why should they try to raise a family here or build a life here in Hamilton County when each week this commission engages in institutionalized exclusion of all its non-Christian citizens? In fact, why should any of us? I was offended beyond belief by the prayer that was given today when myself, my friends, and my children were singled out by the pastor as being lawless and wicked. And then not one of you spoke up to address that, but you gave him a reward. I've strayed somewhat from my original prepared comments. But in closing, I'm not here to question your patriotism or your knowledge of the Constitution or your willingness to represent all of your constituents fairly and equally. These are questions that you have all already answered by your actions. I'm here today to find out what you value more, your piousness or your country, your county, and your constituents. Thank you and have a good day.